This video is about why the most dangerous people choose to keep no friends, and why most people only understand this after it costs them. You've probably felt it before, trusting someone, opening up, letting them get close, only to realize later that something shifted. Maybe your words were used against you, or your intentions misunderstood, or your peace quietly disrupted. And the more you think about it, the clearer it becomes. You gave access where you shouldn't have. So what if the real advantage isn't in having more people around you, but in knowing exactly who to keep at a distance, and why? In this video, you'll see how strategic isolation, emotional control, and selective trust create a level of power most people never reach. Stay until the end, because once you understand this, you won't look at relationships the same way again. Trust is often the one weakness that can bring down someone powerful. To a strategic mind, trust isn't safety, it's risk. An open door that can be used against you. People change, loyalties shift, and most act in their own interest when it matters. The one who understands this doesn't rely on goodwill. They pay attention to patterns, to behavior, to what people actually do over time. Relationships are kept at a distance, carefully managed, so no one gets close enough to gain real leverage. They control what they reveal, and they stay aware of how they respond. Because the moment you trust without limits, you give something away, control. And once that's gone, it's not easy to take back. Most people think trust builds power, but it's often where power quietly collapses. Showing your emotions openly can become something others use against you. The moment you reveal how you feel, you give them a clear view of where you're vulnerable. The one who understands this keeps their emotions controlled, staying calm on the surface, difficult to read. Real friendship usually requires sharing, opening up, giving something back. But that kind of exchange comes at a cost they're not willing to pay. Instead, they listen more than they reveal. They take in what others say, but they don't mirror it. Their choices stay grounded in logic, not in emotion. And by keeping that distance, they stay focused, steady, and hard to influence. And once someone understands your emotions, they no longer need to oppose you to control you. There's a point where having too many people around you stops being connection and starts becoming exposure. Most people only realize this after their time, energy, or trust has already been used against them. That's why I created the art of strategic indifference. It shows you how to stay composed, limit access to yourself, and stop giving others the reactions and attention they rely on. If that's something you've experienced, the link is in the description. The most dangerous people don't see others as friends. They see them as assets or temporary alliances. Their relationships are based on usefulness, and they last only as long as they serve a purpose. There's no attachment, no sense of loyalty that holds things in place. When something no longer works, it's let go without hesitation. This way of operating gives them freedom, the ability to adjust, to move without being tied down. The people around them understand this, even if it's never said directly. Their role depends on the value they bring, and that can change at any time. By keeping things this way, the balance stays in their control. They move through situations on their own terms, never dependent, never limited by others. At that point, it stops being friendship and becomes positioning. To a strategic mind, the social world isn't a place for connection. It's a space where position and influence are constantly shifting. Every interaction carries weight. Small talk reveals information. Kindness can serve a purpose, and alliances are never permanent. Weakness doesn't go unnoticed, and trust can quickly turn into exposure. The one who understands this doesn't move casually. They observe closely, they pay attention, they think before they act. On the surface, they blend in, they seem like part of everything around them. But internally, they stay detached, always aware of what's happening beneath it. And in that environment, there are only two roles, the one making the moves or the one being moved. They make sure they're never the latter. And the moment you start seeing it this way, the entire social world begins to look different. Friendship, in a world shaped by power, works like a kind of gravity. It pulls you into expectations, into responsibilities, into the needs of other people. For someone thinking strategically, that weight can slow movement, limit choices, and make it harder to stay in control. So they choose differently. They move without those attachments, without being held in place. And that distance isn't emptiness, it's freedom. What looks like isolation from the outside becomes something else entirely. A lighter, more controlled way of moving through everything around them. If this is starting to change how you look at people and situations, you'll probably want to stay around for more like this. A quiet like helps it reach the right people, and subscribing keeps this kind of thinking close. In any social situation, there are two roles you can take: the participant or the observer. The participant is inside everything, reacting as things happen, caught in the moment, with a limited view shaped by what's right in front of them. They're involved, engaged, moving with the flow without stepping back. The observer stands differently. They stay slightly removed, watching from a distance where the full picture becomes clearer. They're not pulled into the emotion or the noise. Instead, they notice patterns, timing, and small shifts that others miss. That position creates an advantage. It allows them to understand what's really happening beneath the surface. And those who understand this well don't choose it by accident. They step into that role intentionally, knowing that watching gives them more control than reacting ever could. Because the real advantage doesn't come from being involved. It comes from seeing what others miss. While others are busy talking, they're listening. While others try to impress, they're quietly assessing everything around them. This gives them something most people overlook: information. They take in what others reveal without giving much away themselves. Over time, they begin to understand what drives people, their fears, their motives, the small details that shape their behavior. And that understanding becomes real power. It allows them to anticipate what comes next, to notice weaknesses, and to influence outcomes without ever stepping forward openly. At the same time, this distance gives them clarity. The one who is fully involved is often affected by ego, emotion, or the need to be accepted. Their judgment shifts based on how they feel in the moment, but the observer stays clear. They aren't pulled by approval, rejection, or reaction. And because of that, they see things as they are, not as they feel. And the less you reveal, the more control quietly shifts in your direction. Their way of thinking stays cold, clear, and focused on what's actually happening, not on what they want to believe. That kind of clarity becomes a quiet advantage. It allows them to act based on reality, not emotion, making their decisions more precise and effective. While others are caught up in reactions, they're thinking ahead, seeing the situation from a wider view. And that's where control begins to form. By staying outside the immediate conflict, they keep control over themselves and their position. They don't get pulled into situations that don't serve them, and they don't act on impulse. Instead, they wait. They choose the right moment, when the advantage is clear, and then they move. This ability to hold back, to not participate when it isn't necessary, becomes a source of strength. What looks like distance is actually awareness. They turn the social environment into something they can study, understand, and navigate quietly, improving their position without being noticed. Strategic isolation isn't loneliness. It's something built with intention. For someone thinking this way, solitude becomes a place of control, a space where their thinking stays clear and steady. Without constant influence from others, they see things more objectively, less affected by pressure or manipulation. Their stability comes from within, and their focus remains undisturbed. What looks like distance from the outside is actually a foundation, one that allows them to stay independent and think long-term without interference. Strategic isolation doesn't mean disappearing completely. It's not about cutting yourself off from the world. The most effective people still move within it, but on their own terms. They choose when to engage, how long to stay, and what they want from each interaction. Nothing is random. When they step into social situations, it's intentional. They appear, do what needs to be done, and then step back again. There's no lingering, no unnecessary involvement. This way, they stay informed, they influence what matters, but they don't get pulled into the noise. Because they don't show up often, their presence carries more weight. People notice it, and every interaction has direction, a purpose behind it. They don't waste time on empty conversation or aimless socializing. This is where most people get it wrong. They think presence creates power when it often does the opposite. A conversation for them is never just conversation. It's a moment to gather information, to introduce an idea, or to quietly test how someone responds under pressure. Even something simple like showing up in public has a purpose. It shapes how they're seen, how they're perceived. Nothing is done casually. Every action is measured, focused, and controlled, designed to create the most impact while revealing as little as possible. Over time, this changes how they move through social situations. It's no longer about connection, it becomes about direction. They act with precision, not excess. And this way of operating creates something noticeable, a sense of distance, of importance. Because the more available someone is, the more familiar they become and the less they stand out. But the one who appears less often, who speaks less, who reveals less, begins to carry more weight without needing to say it. What makes them powerful isn't what they do. It's what they choose not to become. The person who shows up rarely and always with a clear purpose naturally draws attention. Their presence feels different, more deliberate, more noticeable. People begin to wonder why they're there, what they want, what they'll do next. That limited access creates curiosity, and that curiosity builds a sense of importance around them, often stronger than anything they could say or explain. By choosing when to be seen, they quietly shape how they're perceived. At the same time, something else is happening. In those short moments of interaction, they take in a lot. How people speak, react, and reveal themselves. But very little is given in return. Their presence stays controlled, their information stays limited. And because of that, others are left trying to figure them out, guessing at their intentions, their direction, their next move. This creates an imbalance. They see more than they show, understand more than they reveal, and that's what keeps them ahead, moving with clarity, while others move with uncertainty. And the moment others can't read you, they begin to fill the gaps themselves. The strongest advantage that comes from detachment is unpredictability. Most people follow patterns shaped by their habits, their attachments, and what others expect from them. And because of that, they become easy to read. But the one who stays detached moves differently. They're not tied to those expectations, so their actions don't follow a clear pattern. That makes them harder to anticipate. Others can't easily predict what they'll do next, and that uncertainty creates distance and hesitation. Over time, this shifts the balance. They become someone others can't fully understand, someone who doesn't move in obvious ways. And in that unpredictability, they hold an advantage. because they act on their own terms, not on what others expect. Unpredictability isn't randomness, it's control without a visible pattern. Emotional control isn't about ignoring what you feel, it's about understanding it. The powerful person builds something steady within themselves, a kind of inner space that stays calm even when everything around them becomes chaotic. Emotions are still there, but they're observed, not followed. They become information, not something that decides your next move. With awareness and discipline, they create a gap between what they feel and how they respond. And in that gap, control begins to form. This calm, difficult to read presence unsettles others because it doesn't react the way they expect. It allows them to handle pressure without losing direction. And over time, everything they do starts to rest on that foundation. And eventually it stops being about control over others and becomes control over yourself. Once you understand your emotions, they stop controlling you and start working for you. Instead of reacting without thinking, you begin to use them with intention. Most people are guided by how they feel in the moment, but the strategist treats emotion differently, as something to observe, adjust, and apply when needed. They notice what others expect, what others respond to, and they reflect just enough to guide the situation without losing control. At times they appear warm, at other times distant, but none of it is random. Everything stays measured, and because of that, they're no longer pushed around by their own reactions. They move with direction, shaping outcomes instead of being shaped by them. The cost of that level of control can be subtle, but real. As someone learns to manage their emotions, they may begin to feel them less intensely. What once felt natural, warmth, excitement, connection, starts to fade into something quieter, more distant. The world becomes clearer, more logical, easier to navigate without distraction. But that clarity comes with distance. You begin to see things as they are, not as they feel. And that can separate you from the way most people experience life. For some, that trade feels worth it, because with that distance comes control, and with control comes a kind of power few ever reach. Choosing to walk alone isn't just a strategy for power, it's a deeper decision. It means stepping away from the comfort of belonging and standing in something much quieter, much clearer. Self-reliance. Without constant opinions, expectations, and noise, things begin to look different. You start to see how things actually work, how actions lead to outcomes, how patterns repeat. Most people avoid this kind of clarity because it feels isolating. But for those who can stay there, something shifts. The distance brings understanding, and that understanding brings a kind of freedom most people never experience. The idea of this kind of solitude leads to something deeper, self-mastery. Real strength doesn't come from status, influence, or what you have around you. It comes from how steady you are within yourself. When you reach that point, you're no longer easy to influence or shake. Praise doesn't move you, pressure doesn't bend you, and fear doesn't control your decisions. You build something solid inside, something that doesn't depend on anyone else. And once that's in place, everything changes. Because the strongest position isn't outside, it's within. And when you have control over that, you no longer need anything else to hold your ground. And in the end, it's not isolation that gives them power. It's what isolation allows them to become. If you found this valuable, leave a like. It helps more than you think, and it quietly pushes this kind of thinking to the people who need it most. I'm curious. Do you think keeping distance from people makes you stronger, or does it come at a cost over time? Have you experienced a moment where stepping back gave you more control, or where it made things harder? Let me know in the comments. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who might be giving too much access without realizing it. Subscribe if you want more content like this, and watch the next video to go even deeper into understanding power, control, and human behavior.